Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtottara Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BPT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtottara Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavindra Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On the 6th day of August, 2025 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 7 entitled Knowledge of the Absolute, text number 4, at the top of page 308. Bhumir Apo Analo Vayu Kam Mano Buddhi Evacha Ahankara Etiyam Me Binna Prakatir Ashtada Bhumarapo nalo vayu Kammano buddhirevacha Ahankara iti yamme Bhinna prakritirashtada Bhumarapo nalo vayu Kammano buddhirevacha Ahankara iti yamme Bhinna prakritirashtada Bhumarapo nalo vayu Kammano buddhirevacha Ahankara iti yamme Bhinna prakritirashtada. Go ahead, Chad. Bhumarapo nalo vayu Kammano buddhirevacha Ahankara iti yamme Bhinna prakritirashtada. Tapas, you want to try? Bhumarapo nalo vayu Kammano buddhirevacha Ahankara iti yamme Bhinna prakritirashtada. Bhumarapo nalo vayu Kammano buddhirevacha Ahankara iti yamme Bhinna prakritirashtada. You want to try? Bhumarapo nalo vayu Kammano buddhirevacha Ahankara iti yamme Bhinna prakritirashtada. Ladies. Bhumarapo nalo vayu Kammano buddhirevacha Ahankara iti yamme Bhinna prakritirashtada. Anyone online, Tavis? Okay. Any other ladies? You want to try it? Bhumarapo nalo vayu Kammano buddhirevacha Ahankara iti yamme Bhinna prakritirashtada. Okay, word by words. Bhumi, earth. Apa, water. Analaha, fire. Vayu, air. Kam, ether. Manaha, mind. Buddhihi, intelligence. Eva, certainly. Cha, and ahankaraha, false ego. Iti, thus. Iyam, all these. Me, my. Binna, separated. Prakritihi, energies. Ashtada, eightfold. Translation. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 constitute my separated material energies. Purport. The science of God analyzes the constitutional position of God and his diverse energies. Material nature is called Prakriti, or the energy of the Lord in his different Purusha incarnations, expansions, as described in the Sattva Tantra. Vishnastu trini rupani purushakyan yato viduhu ekang tu mahatak srashtir vitiyam tvanda sangstitam tritiyam sarvabhutastam tani gatva vimuchyate. For material creation, Lord Krishna's plenary expansion assumes 3 Vishnus. The first one, Mahavishnu, creates the total material energy known as the Mahat Tattva. The second, Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu, enters into all the universes to create diversities in each of them. The third, Chirodaka Shai Vishnu, is diffused as the all-pervading Supersoul in all the universes and is known as the Paramatma. He is present even within the atoms. Anyone who knows these 3 Vishnus can be liberated from material entanglement. The material world is a temporary manifestation of one of the energies of the Lord. All the activities of the material world are directed by these three Vishnu expansions of Lord Krishna. These Purushas are called incarnations. Generally, one who does not know the science of God, Krishna, assumes that this material world is for the enjoyment of the living entities, and that the living entities are the Purushas, the causes, controllers, and enjoyers of the material energy. According to the Bhagavad Gita, this atheistic conclusion is false. In the verse under discussion, it is stated that Krishna is the original cause of the material manifestation. Srimad Bhagavatam also confirms this. The ingredients of the material manifestation are separated energies of the Lord. Even the Brahmajyoti, which is the ultimate goal of the impersonalists, is a spiritual energy manifested in the spiritual sky. There are no spiritual diversities in the Brahmajyoti as there are in the Vaikuntha Lokas, and the impersonalist accepts this Brahmajyoti as the ultimate eternal goal. The Paramatma manifestation is also a temporary, all-pervasive aspect of the Chirodakashaya Vishnu. The Paramatma manifestation is not eternal in the spiritual world. Therefore, the factual absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. He is the complete energetic person, and he possesses different separated and internal energies. In the material energy, the principal manifestations are 8, as above mentioned. Out of these, the first 5 manifestations, namely earth, water, fire, air, and sky, or ether, are called the 5 gigantic creations, or the gross creations, within which the 5 sense objects are included. They are the manifestations of physical sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Material energy comprises these 10 items and nothing more. But the other 3 items, namely mind, intelligence, and false ego, are neglected by the materialists. Philosophers who deal with mental activities are also not perfect in knowledge, because they do not know the ultimate source, Krishna. The false ego, I am and it is mine, which constitute the basic principle of material existence, include 10 sense organs for material activities. Intelligence refers to the total material creation, called the Mahatattva. Therefore, from the 8 separated energies of the Lord are manifest the 24 elements of the material world, which are the subject matter of Sankhya atheistic philosophy. They are originally offshoots from Krishna's energies and are separated from him. But atheistic Sankhya philosophers with a poor fund of knowledge do not know Krishna as the cause of all causes. The subject matter for discussion in the Sankhya philosophy is only the manifestation of the external energy of Krishna as it is described in the Bhagavad Gita. Om jnana timirandasya jnanandana shalakaya chakshu unmilitam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So this is another famous verse. The 7th canto itself, 7th chapter itself is there are many memorable verses and often quoted verses. So this verse comprises the material energies that everything is made of. Our bodies, this building, the whole earth, you'll find is a combination of 2 or more of these 8 energies. Bhumar, Apo, Anano, Vayu, Kam. Those are called the gross or material energies, although they're progressively more subtle. This Kam, or ether, more or less means space, the space that things are in, ether. But earth we're familiar with, solid matter. Apo, water or any liquid. Anala is air, gases. Fire. Anala is fire. Vayu is air. We deal with these every day. And then comes this space, the ether. Then the internal, more subtle, the mind, the intelligence, buddhi, and the ahankara. Now, the ahankara, which means more or less I am the controller, is false ego, and is comprised of this idea of me and mind. What am I? I'm this body. And what is related to this body is mind. You see, that's the false ego, and you'll find during the course of your life that those keep changing. Your body's certainly changing, And the things in relation to the body, what you think you can control and is yours, is either increasing, decreasing, like that. So this ahankara is the reason why we maintain ourselves in this material world, life after life. That false ego, well, it's false because we're identifying with this body as ourself. But the first lesson of Bhagavad Gita is that you're not the body. Dehi nosmin yata dehe kaumaram yovaram jara tata dehantara prapti dhirastatta namuhyati. As the living entity in the material body, the dehina is the embodied soul, continually passes in this body from childhood to youth to, adolescence, and then middle age and on. So the body is constantly changing. We're all in one of those stages. And we remain the same person, right? I mean, even our mind changes, our ideas change, our intelligence changes. But we're the same person, the one who knows these, the knower of the body and the externals. So that knower is eternal. A few verses later, Krishna speaks this verse that's very well known, often quoted for this purpose. Najayate mriyate va kadachan nayam bhutva babitava nabhuya ajo nitya shashvato yam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. So he says, for the soul, for the living entity, there is no birth or death at any time. Najayate mriyate va kadachan. There aren't souls coming into being. There aren't souls going out of being. The souls, every soul, each one of us is aja, nitya, shashvato, purana. Unborn, eternal, ever-existing, and primeval. Now those adjectives all belong to Krishna also. He's certainly unborn, ever-existing. So in that sense, we have the same quality as Krishna. But of course, we always have to remember we're very minute. And because we're so minute, we get covered and we don't realize we have this quality. If we thought we were eternal, then that might change our calculations of what's important. Because everything we get and we accumulate in this body, it's all gone. When the body drops, right, you're going on to another destination, and that's determined by the mentality you've developed in this lifetime. So that's the whole point, is that how can I develop the best consciousness in this lifetime to have the best next birth? And the best next birth is not a material birth. It's a birth in the spiritual world. Prabhupada's immortal phrase, going back home, back to Godhead. So it's fraught, that phrase. It means that we were there. That's our original home. We're all exiled here. And the proof is, you can never find a situation that's going to be permanent. We try to think that it is. If you get a nice house, a family, okay, I'm happy now. But time will go on, the family members will leave, one child may die, cause a great injury to your heart. But one way or another, it's all temporary and all going to end. So, but we ourselves are eternal. And so the whole idea of the Bhagavad Gita and the process of Bhakti Yoga is to regain our eternal identity, our function, our original consciousness. That's the proposition. And now we can't perceive any of that directly. And so we need faith in the Shastra, in the Guru, in the sages, and who are giving us this science. That faith is all important. And so we have, and it's also confirmed. You can say, oh yeah, I can see how everything is a combination of these. Bhuma, Apa, Analo, Vayukam, that makes sense. Certainly earth. And how did this building come about? They took some earth, they made some bricks out of fire, right? They added some way of doing it. And with those things, they built up the walls and everything. But then they had to have the pipes and the wires and all of this. So it takes a lot of intelligence. But they're just manipulating these energies due to established principles, get skilled. And then they erect a building, which is obviously temporary. And sometimes, if there's a big earthquake, this building can come down, right? So understanding the temporality of our life in this body, the whole injunction is don't waste time trying to make a situation here which you can't make. Everything, it's all going to be destroyed. Not, of course, everything will be destroyed at one point, but our whole identity and our position in this world, relationships with people. In the second canto, I think near the beginning, it's very graphically, I just remember this passage, how we're all just like, 'cause the ocean is here. So little bubbles come together, right, in the foam, but then they separate. Or some flotsam and jetsam, right, the little stuff is floating there, it comes and then it's separated. So that's exactly the way it is in our life. We meet people, we have children, we have family, and we take great solace in that because we have these relationships and so forth. But it's constantly changing. Child grows up and goes away, or something tragic happens, some disease, or accident, whatever. We know this from others, but we also know that could happen to us. So life in this body is very tenuous. So therefore, we should learn how to use our time in such a way that we're constantly developing and purifying, developing our knowledge of God and knowledge of how this world is working, and at the same time purifying our heart, so we're coming more and more remembering Krishna and how He's present everywhere. And based on the verses that we're reading now, Krishna will begin saying in text 8 how it's a means of remembering Him in our daily life. Rasoham Apsukonteya Prabhasmi Shashisuriyo Pranavak Sarvavedeshu Shabda Ke Parusham Nishu. So there he's saying, he starts the Rasoham Apsukon. I am the taste of water. I mean, does anyone not taste water at least once a day? So when you taste that water, and it's pure, you drink pure water as possible, a little cool water, that taste is Krishna. Now why? Everything about it. He made the water. The water is one of His energies. And so is our body. This tongue is also created by Krishna. It's composed of so many things, but it has ability to taste. So that tongue is His, and the very tasting that we're doing is His arrangement. So the whole thing is a way of remembering Krishna. And then you go, and the light of the sun and the moon. Where's the day where we don't see the light of the sun and the moon? Well, at least the light of the sun, maybe it's cloudy, but we know the sun is up there, right? So when you perceive the sun is up and the light is up, oh, Krishna is now manifesting. He's there. So in this way, Prabhupada gave the example of a mother the kid is going to his first day in school, maybe it's a nursery school or something, but he's going to be separated for a few hours from the mother. So she goes into the room and she cleans up, and there's some shoes that he uses, little shoes. So she sees the shoes and a tear comes, because she's remembering the child and how he played in those shoes, right? So that's the same idea. The things related to the person we love, they can evoke that love. You have mementos, and all these different things. So everything is related to Krishna. So the pure devotee, he sees Krishna everywhere. He's reminded, he sees a tree, oh, this unfortunate soul, what he did, he's in this body of a tree, and very rudimentary consciousness, very covered, But he sees the workings of Krishna's energies everywhere, and especially with other human beings, living beings, and especially human beings, he sees someone who has the intelligence, potentially, to become Krishna conscious. So the devotee will always try, you dress in a certain way. Probably want us to dress as devotees when we go outside, so people will remember, they'll get used to, oh, he's a Hare Krishna. I take a walk every morning up Cass Avenue. And there's one fellow there who got a book from a very nice lady who buys books in bulk. You may know her, Marcy. And she gives them out to people who are, interested. So this homeless man, he's not, he's sitting there and he's got it. And he told her the next time he saw her that, oh, I saw one of your people come up. And she knew I would take this verse. Oh, he's my teacher. She may be listening right now. She used to come physically, but after the pandemic, I think she attends the class mostly. So she has some means, and so she buys books, by the box, and she'll go out to different places. I once saw her in Sprouts once. She was talking to one of the guys who was packing out the apples, and he took a book. She gave him a book. So it's very wonderful, and he, when he sees me, I give him a big Hare Krishna, He says, Hare Krishna. This guy is sitting on, he doesn't have anything to do. He's a homeless guy, But he's, you read in the Chaitanya Charitamrita or in the Bhagavatam how important it is even to hear or chant the name one time. I remember it's in the 6th canto. There's a prayer by Chitraketu when he's praying to Sankirtan. I think he realized that, the Lord in that form. And these prayers, and in the prayers he mentions there that even hearing the holy name one time, not just saying it, but even hearing it one time, just destroys so much of your karma, your bad karma. So the holy name is so auspicious. So just you address this way, and people know there's the Hare Krishnas. Even if they don't say anything, they said, yeah, there's one of those Hare Krishnas. Those guys are nuts, They don't. I mean, most people don't understand. But it's the things that are given by the spiritual master, by Krishna, and his mercy, the holy name, deities, the prasadam, the temple, are all ways in which he's trying to draw our heart and our consciousness back toward him. What is the meaning of the word Krishna? Chad, All attractive. It's based on the word karshati, which means to pull, right? Karshati. So that's the mission of Krishna's sincere devotees. And Prabhupada said, if you love someone, you want to see them glorified all over, that people know who they are everywhere. And we saw that with Srila Prabhupada. He came from India, a long way on a ship. He didn't fly. It was a very grueling and difficult journey. He got sick there. And then he's struggling alone in New York, for a year, really not making much headway. But he still was determined to give Krishna to the devotees here, to the potential devotees. And then in summer of '66, he was able to make some headway in the Lower East Side and planting the seed in the heart, the seed of interest and faith and attraction to Krishna through his words and, of course, through the holy name. And that, the creeper of devotion grows if you water it nicely with hearing and chanting, and you avoid offenses and things. So he was successful, and that's the result of these books and the worldwide movement and the TOVP, this tremendous temple of the temple of the Vedic planetarium. There's a story why the planetarium. My understanding is that those who know India, you can confirm this, both of you who are very familiar with India, that at a certain point in Bengal especially, there was a communist government. Am I right? Yeah. And they weren't so supportive of new temples. And so Prabhupada presented it as, well, this is going to be a planetarium. This is going to be for education purposes. And so they approved that this is of a planetarium. So that's why there's a planetarium there. And also Prabhupada was into teaching the Vedic understanding of how the cosmography and so forth. So it was, he had this Bhaktivedanta Institute, scientific preaching. So one big part of it is then going to be a huge display, high tech, showing the different stars and the planets and their configuration and all those things. So it's not going to. That's why it's not an ordinary temple. I don't think there's another temple like that. So anyway, that's supposed to, I think, open next year, isn't it? 26. Started out as 22. Now we're on 26. I remember back in 1915, it was 22 for sure. But and the pandemic slowed us down a little bit, Anyway, that's all the manifestation, of Krishna's mercy and his blessings on Srila Prabhupada and his followers. All right, any questions on this verse? These are the 8 material elements. Now we're going to hear about the non-material element, namely us. Apare mitastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. Besides these 8, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, ego, Almighty Amdarjun, there is another superior energy of mine which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. Purport. Here it is clearly mentioned that the living entities belong to the superior nature or energy of the Supreme Lord. The inferior energy is matter manifested in different elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Both forms of material nature, namely gross, earth, etc., and subtle, mind, etc., are products of the inferior energy. The living entities who are exploiting these inferior energies for different purposes are the superior energy of the Supreme Lord, and it is due to this energy that the entire material world functions. The cosmic manifestation has no power to act unless it is moved by the superior energy, the living entity. Energies are always controlled by the energetic, and therefore the living entities are always controlled by the Lord. They have no independent existence. They are never equally powerful, as unintelligent men think. The distinction between the living entities and the Lord is described in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:87-30 as follows. Now these verses are a little hard to chant, so I may make a mistake. Apadimata duvasthanubato yadisarvagatas tarhi nashashiteti niyamo duvanetadata ajanicha yanma yantadavamuchana yantra bhavet samamanajanataam yadamatam matadushtaya. This is the famous, one of the verses of the personified Vedas glorifying the Lord. O Supreme Eternal, if the embodied living entities were eternal and all-pervading like you, then they would not be under your control. But if the living entities are accepted as minute energies of your Lordship, then they are at once subject to your supreme control. Therefore, real liberation entails surrender by the living entities to your control, and that surrender will make them happy. In that constitutional position only can they be controllers. Therefore, men with limited knowledge who advocate the monistic theory that God and the living entities are equal in all respects are actually guided by a faulty and polluted opinion. Close quote. The Supreme Lord, Krishna, is the only controller, and all living entities are controlled by him. These living entities are his superior energy because the quality of their existence is one and the same with the Supreme, but they are never equal to the Lord in quantity of power. While exploiting the gross and subtle inferior energy, matter, the superior energy, the living entity, forgets his real spiritual mind and intelligence. This forgetfulness is due to the influence of matter upon the living entity. But when the living entity becomes free from the influence of the illusory material energy, he attains the stage called mukti, or liberation. The false ego, under the influence of material illusion, thinks, I am matter, and material acquisitions are mine. I and mine. Close quote. His actual position is realized when he is liberated from all material ideas, including the conception of his becoming one in all respects with God. Therefore, one may conclude that the Gita confirms the living entity to be only one of the multi-energies of Krishna. And when this energy is freed from material contamination, it becomes fully Krishna conscious or liberated. So, let's think about these things for a minute. It's called Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana. Now, in Lord Chaitanya's discussion with Sanatana Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says that these three subjects are really the only thing that the Vedas are talking about. And if we understand these three, then we'll have a firm basis for pursuing Krishna consciousness. So Sambandha is understanding what is this world, who is God, the creator of the world, and where do we fit in? What is our relationship? Sambandha means relationship, bondage, you see. So this verse that we read, number 5 or 4, Bhumarapa Analovayu, this is an important step in understanding Sambandha. This is the elements of this energy that we're living in. And the next one also, Aparemitas Tvanyam, the other energy, namely ourselves, the conscious energy, we're immersed in this material energy because we left the spiritual energy. In the spiritual world, everything is conscious. There's no matter. There's no ordinary earth and everything, you see. There may be, buildings there, wonderful palaces, but it's spiritual earth, not this material earth. Everything is conscious. So that's where we belong, because we are purely conscious. We never born, we never die, and we have the potential to enter into this blissful consciousness of Krishna and have this revive our Sat Chit Ananda nature. Sat Chit Ananda means eternal, full of bliss, and full of knowledge. Just what are we now? Are we eternal? Do you expect to be eternal, Shad? No, the body is not eternal. So now we're eternal and temporary and full of ignorance and misery. I mean, we can be happy for a little bit. There's pleasure in this world, but we know that there's also a lot of misery. So that's not there. So we want to try to regain that Satchidananda nature, which is Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. This is Lord Brahma's statement at the beginning of the 5th chapter of the Brahma Samhita. Very important. The supreme controller, meaning God, is Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna. And what is his nature? Satchit Ananda Vigraha. He has a form that is eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. And so do we, but we've lost touch with that form. So Krishna consciousness means reawakening that systematically, you see. So, I read the whole purport, right? So, the aparemitastvanyam, so we are also another energy, but we are para. So the idea is you have this apara prakriti, which is the material energy, which is not alive. This podium is not alive. It's doing a nice service, but it doesn't know it's doing any service. So that's unconscious matter. That's also Krishna's energy. But he has an apara prakriti, which comprises the living entities. Prakritim vidime, you should know that there is a para prakriti, jiva bhutam, the jivas. We're all jiva souls, you see. Yedam dayate in the God. Now this word dayate is the same word that is the root, it has the same root as the word dharma, and the same root as the word dhari. Does that name ring a bell? Does that word ring? As in giridhari, right? Holding up. So we are, in one sense, just like in the body, we're holding up the body. When we leave the body disintegrates one way or another. It's burned or whatever. It no longer can keep its form. So in the whole universe, Krishna is sustaining everything, both material and spiritual. But in our own little universe, Prabhupada mentions, the body is a little miniature universe, right? And it has a form and function, and it works, you see, as long as we're in it. But as soon as we leave it, it's just a combination of these material elements. It has to be disposed of. So this whole universe is like that, and Krishna is, maintaining everything. He's conscious, and he's in everyone's heart. So he's also there. So dayate jagat. So because we're here in the universe, the universe is made for the material universe is made for the materially conditioned living entities, uncounted. And what happens because the universe itself also has a time limit, like the lifetime of Brahma, right? How long is that? No, that's one day. Oh, lifetime. Yeah. 311 trillion? 40 billion. Yeah. 40 billion is like a rounding error when you get to that. 311 trillion, 40 billion. That's 100 years for him. And actually we figured out, because, as they're past him, where Brahma comes down, and Krishna's playing, and he sees, and he wants to test Krishna, and so he steals his calves, and he steals his boys, and he puts them all to sleep. He doesn't hurt anybody. And then he comes back a moment later by his time, which is a year, according to us. Time is relative. Brahma lives 100 years, according to what he feels. But that 100 years is 311 trillion, a billion, 311 trillion, 40 billion of our years. So if you try to figure out the seconds, even one, it's just like a split second, is a whole year down here. But even though, we went away for a little bit, and he said, I wonder how they're doing. So he came back. And Krishna's playing with the boys and calves. What is this? So he checks. The boys and calves that he knew, they were still sleeping in this, mystic slumber. So he realized how Krishna, he expanded in these identical calves and boys. And the point is made that, every child, every calf has its own idiosyncrasies, right? And so Krishna perfectly matched that. Why? Because he wanted to go back, and the mothers wouldn't even know, right? And they would fondle the boys, and they would, suckle the boys, and so they would actually be doing that to Krishna, so giving them that blessing. So that was the multi-level plan. And at the same time, he wanted Brahma to understand his position. So he comes back after that time, and then he sees Krishna. So he comes down from his swan, and he offers obeisance, and eventually he starts offering prayers, right? Prayers to Brahma. He realizes, oh. And one of the prayers is, are you not Narayan, my father? You are Narayan. He's a calf herd. He's not even a cowherd boy yet. So all these wonderful pastimes, but it shows that Brahma, who's so intelligent, he's got 4 heads, he creates everything, and it's a big headache, or should I say headaches, to populate the universe. If you read the Bhagavad Gita, he starts, and what has he got to work with? His own mind. So he's creating something, but some of them turn out to be demons, and they attack him, right? So this false start, that false start. Eventually, he starts, creating the Prajapatis, and it starts to populate. So it's a very wonderful, story or account of what's going on, and this is our basic information. Okay, we are apara prakriti, and we are moving the we are para prakriti, and we're moving the apara prakriti composed of our body in this world. But again, the point is, knowing all this, we should stop aspiring to somehow make a good material condition in this world. We should live comfortably. We should but not aspire to, because it's temporary. We should use the time that we have as far as possible in increasing our Krishna consciousness, because that's reality. That everything else is illusion. It's a whole illusion that somehow we can have peace and happiness in this world. How can there be peace? I mean, the pandemic had a silver lining. You know what I mean? It was dangerous and it was difficult, but the silver lining was everybody suddenly realized, whoa, death is not so far, You see everyone with all the masks, You go to the store, who's breathing out in that store, I better, you can't. In other words, otherwise you can lull yourself, I've got it made, I'm living in San Diego, the sun is out, No, this danger is every step. Padam padam yadva padam natesha. So that means that we should urgently, chant and try to advance in Krishna consciousness, increase our knowledge so that we can see ourselves and the world through the eyes of Shastra. So that's what this Bhagavad Gita is invaluable. All right, if there's no discussion, we can go on to text 6. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Other than the booty being material, how is it?
Intelligence?
Intelligence. How is it different than chit?
Than chit?
Yes, knowledge and intelligence.
Sat, chit, and all. Yeah. Well, intelligence is the discriminating factor. In other words, the mind, it is always, relating to the outside world and making judgments. This is interesting. Let me go over there. And this is boring, or this is dangerous. This is not pleasant. So the mind is doing that, and it's controlling the senses too. Go here, do there, pick this up, and everything. But the intelligence is where we can actually, contemplate our position in this world. Who am I? What's the goal of life? And the human being has a superior intelligence because of the bigger brain, whatever. Whereas lower beings, they have intelligence, but it's very rudimentary. Where is the food? Where is safety? Like that. So the human intelligence, we can contemplate and ask the serious questions that who am I? What is my goal in life? Is it like that? And if we don't do that, then we're more or less leading animalistic lives. And that's where the word dharma comes in. See, dharma is, the animals don't have dharma in the sense that human beings have. Is something that you do. Again, the word dharma means is the same root, dri, to sustain. So everything has a dharma, like this chair, right? You put your child on that chair, you're confident the chair will hold up the child. That's the whole idea, that you sit on it and then it holds you up. But as I always point out, sometimes the chair is faulty, right? You sit on it, it collapses. It's not meeting its dharma. It's an adharmic chair, right? So we have our own dharma. So the question in the beginning of Bhagavatam, second chapter, what is that dharma? The sages in Naimisharanya ask Sutta Goswami, what is that dharma by which the soul in the body, any soul, can be happy, can be satisfied? So then he has a whole explanation. It's about 17, 18 verses. And the first thing he does is define that dharma. Savai pangsang paro dharmo yato bhakti arhokshaje ahaitu kya pratiyata yeyatma supersediti. Superseded means completely pleased. So that dharma, savai pangsang, for human beings, paro dharma, is that which engenders bhakti, devotional service, to adhokshaja. Now, this word, name adhokshaja for Krishna, is used often when you're just beginning to describe the beginning stages of devotional service. What is adhokshaja? It's not a name of Krishna in Vrindavan. It's simply a word that means he who is transcendental to all of our efforts to see him or understand him through our material senses. Ada akshaja. Ja is for birth, and aksha is eyes or any senses. So knowledge produced from our material eyes and mind is incapable of reaching the Lord. See? So adha, he pushes it down. It's just the transcendental Lord. So that means we have to have faith that he exists. And therefore the contact with the realized soul and genuine Shastra, which can plant the faith and increase our faith that Krishna is real, that we can know him, and here's the process by which you can begin knowing him. And especially in this age, it's chanting his names. And if you start taking it up, you begin to feel the presence of Krishna in your life. You become more interested in understanding, you see? Reading the Bhagavad Gita, especially because it's Bhagavad Gita as it is. It's written, the commentary is by realized soul, so you can actually understand. So that's the difference between the mind and the intelligence. Intelligence is meant to guide the mind. You know that analogy of the soul riding in the chariot of the body, and the reins of the mind, and the driver is the intelligence, and the soul is the passenger. Now, if it's in the horses, 5 horses are the 5 senses. Now, if the horses are not being controlled properly by the mind intelligence, they're taking you down that mountain road, and it's very dangerous, and so it's a horrible situation. So you don't want the senses to become in control. That's especially seen when someone gets addicted to alcohol or some drugs or anything like that. Your intelligence is telling you, "Oh, I'm killing myself with this stuff," you know. But your mind is controlled by the senses, and I got to have it. You know, it's in the senses, in the body. And so the only way to get it is you need help. Someone, your best friend say, "Hey, we're going to rehab," and you're going there and you can't leave, and there's no access to any of the substances, and you get strength from the others who are struggling and so forth, So that's a perfect example of what we don't want to do, and so when you don't have this knowledge and you don't have the association, then you become victimized by this Kali Yuga, where people are not operating properly and all of these lower things are all available, so it's very easy to get entangled. But by the chanting and the practice, you can get vairagya. Vairagya, your desire for these things is diminished in proportion to how you're getting attracted to Krishna. And so that's why, which is very wholesome, there's no bad. And the wonderful thing is, it's not limited by the body. If you can make, 25% advancement, you'll start at 26 next lifetime. You'll be born in a family where that'll be, or born in a place where you can do it. So it's a win-win situation. It's the only logical investment. If you just make some monetary investment, oh, it came out good, now I have $10,000. So that's just more of a big weight around your head. They keep you here in the material world. Better to use that same energy and intelligence to increase your spiritual assets. Just like there's this wonderful verse where there's a prayer to become a miser. What is that? So it's in the Prajapali, Rupa Goswami. It's not, he didn't write it, but he quotes it. Vichayani, vicharyani, vichinchani punak punaha. Kripanasya dhananiva tvannamani bhavantu yaha. Compelled to constantly collect and count his precious hoard, the miser contemplates his wealth with avaricious aims. Please bless me to become a miser who's compelled, O Lord, to constantly collect and count and contemplate your names. Is it? That greed is good. There's a whole verse about that written by Ramananda Roy and quoted in the Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu in Rupa Goswami. It's definitely by Ramananda Roy. So he says, Kṛṣṇa bhakti rasa bhavitamati kriyatam yadikutopi labhyate tatta laulyam api mulyam ekalam chanmakoti sukritayana labhyate. So Kṛṣṇa bhakti rasa bhavitamati. Prabhupada took this first line and he created the phrase Krishna consciousness. That's where Krishna consciousness comes from. So what does it mean? Kṛṣṇa bhakti rasa, the mellows of the devotion to Krishna. Bhavitamati, the mind absorbed, constantly absorbed in Krishna bhakti rasa. This you should buy if you can buy it, if you can purchase it. Kriyatam yadikutopi labhyate. But you have to have the price. What is the price? Tatra laulyam api mulyam. The mulyam, the price, is your laulyam, is your desire for it. How to cultivate that desire. The more desire, the more greed you have for it, the more you'll be able to get it. Tatra laulyam mulyam ekalam. The only price is your desire, the greed for it. Janma koti sukatayana labhyate. You can have thousands of lifetimes of pious activity, but you won't get the laulyam and you won't get the Krishna bhakti rasa bhavita. So piety is not good. There is a kind of, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says this, bhakti-unmukhi sukati. Sukati is pious activity. Normally means to go to heaven, material. But this bhakti, this is a pious activity that's geared toward increasing your bhakti. That we want to do and find out how to do. Okay, so it's getting a little late. How far did we get? Are we on 6 now? Yes. Okay. Right? All right, I think we'll save that one for tomorrow because I want to share a couple of more shlokas with you. Is it okay? Okay, so this isn't really a shloka. You have to visualize a painting, which you may have seen. You probably saw already. Krishna's entering into the forest. He's just leaving the village. All the gopis are gathered to watch him. And the cows, there's a beautiful little calf nuzzling up to him in front, He's playing his flute. All the boys are around him. In other words, it's beginning his day, his regular day of herding the cows. So this is the Venu Gita chapter. You may know it's very famous. The gopis will sing of him at home. But it starts out, so he's walking in, and then there's one longer verse that kind of sets the whole scene. And I think the gopis sing it, but anyway, it's there. And this well-known verse, Barha pidam natabadavapu karneho karnikaram Bimran vasa kanaka kapisham vaijayanting chamalam Randran venor hadada sudaya puriyan gopa vrindaya Vrindaranyam sapadanamanam pravishan gita kirti. With lovely peacock plume upon his head and fragrant flowers placed upon each ear, he entered Braja's woods with graceful tread, a handsome dancing actor without peer. His golden yellow raiment brightly glows, his splendid garland reaches to his knees, and from his luscious lips the nectar flows, and fills his flute with charming melodies. As Krishna thus begins his blissful day, with cowherd friends who sing his glory sweet, he beautifies Vrindavan's forest way, with fine impressions of his lotus feet. Haribol. So that's a nice meditation. Now there's another one. There's a prayer written by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And it starts out with the same word, Barha Pidam. So Krishna's wearing that peacock plume on his head, But it has a very interesting meter. There's a chanda, in Sanskrit. So It has all heavy syllables. Every syllable is long. You'll hear. Barha pidam maula bimbrun bangshi naranathan van nana kalpa shri sampanno gopa sribi sambita netranandam kovan krishna tvamche nuksar viksheta save kamak sampadhyerarasmakam rinyasina. So it's a prayer. Decked with the crown of peacock plumes and chanting songs with flute you sing, wearing lovely ornaments while standing in the gopis' ring. Dear most Krishna, eyes delight if you will kindly glance our way. All our heart's desires will be fulfilled on this most blessed day. What do you think? So if you want my poems, you just send me an email. You have to remember the email address. Dravida 108. You know it already?
No. Could you share it, please?
Yes. Dravida 108 at gmail.com. Okay. So we have time for one more. Then we have to rush. Okay. Okay, a short one. Madhadesh Madhudi Mayama. Every word begins with M. The tour de force of alliteration. Madhadesh Madhudi Mayamada Vamunadi Matallika Mugdha Mama Madana Mohana Madaya Manaso Maha Maha Moham. O Master of Mathura, lovely Lord of Goddess Shri, who play such maddening melodies upon your Murali, O Cupid's charmer, please redeem a life till now misspent by joyfully destroying my extreme bewilderment. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.